My wife and I decided to sell our house in the spring of 2017. We put the house on the market in May, and subsequently about 4 weeks after putting it on the market, we noticed that this particular window had a leak as a result of a thunderstorm. So we retained a home building envelope inspector who came out and inspected all 33 of our windows and found that 8 of them were showing signs of leakage, including the one that I just mentioned. We received 3 quotes on this project. Chris was actually the most responsive. He was out here within 48 hours of my request for proposals, and he had his quote to us within 24 hours for the work. When I interviewed Chris subsequent to the receipt of his proposal, his knowledge base on the issues at hand were very thorough. He understood that the report, and he explained to me that while his budget for this reflects what's in the report, I could probably expect that there's going to be some additional work. So we prepared before what inevitably was a change order to add additional windows. We actually added 5 additional windows to the scope of the work because of the extent of the damage that was not picked up in the inspection report. Again, inspection reports are a tool to get you to an understanding of the extent of your damage, but depending on your situation, it may be more extensive than what's in the report itself. So he was very thorough in going through all that, and he was also extremely professional in the fact that all of his documentation, his insurance certificates, etc., permits, were all taken care of prior to the mobilization of the work. We're currently looking at the east wall here. As you can see, there's 4 window systems on this wall. 2 of them were designated as being repaired. When the crews began the work, it was pretty obvious that the wall was in far worse condition than originally anticipated. And as a result of that, we decided to take out the entire wall, not just the areas around the windows in question. So all 4 windows were removed, the wall was remediated, and the windows were put back in with current specifications for sealing the windows. So now we're looking at the north side of the property. There were 2 areas in question. This particular window system here on my right, and to my left there's another window system which we will be visiting shortly. This particular window system fortunately did not require a full wall remediation. Just the areas in question were the lower portion of the wall below the window. And as we have found out through this process, what really occurred here was a lack of attention to the building codes that were required for the installation of these windows. There was no flashing done at all on any of these windows, and the windows in question with the most exposure, as you can see, there's no soffit, etc., on this particular wall, so it was under maximum exposure. And the lower portion of this particular wall was remediated. The nice thing about this project too is that there was already a shield across the top of the arch, so that prevented any additional damage across the top of the window. So now again, we're still on the north side of the property. The center wall system here had 2 windows that were defective, and fortunately, as a result of the remedial work that was begun on this to remove the stucco and examine the substrate on these particular windows, we found that it was limited damage. So we were able and fortunate enough to only have to remove the lower portion of the wall and not the entire wall system. Both windows were removed and replaced with a proper flashing. And in this particular case, as you can see, there's a soffit system over top, so that's a very good protection system against any damages to the windows because it prevents water from getting to those upper windows. So we did not have to remediate them. One thing I should point out too is that the crews that were out here every day did a meticulous job of maintaining the integrity of the property surrounding the house by using a plywood system of a walking boardwalk to allow them to get to their proper areas, and at the conclusion of each day, all the things were packed up and put away so that the house was restored to order on a daily basis. So now we're on the south side of the property, the front of the property, and there were 2 areas in question on this particular side of the house. On my left is an arched window system looking out from the office, and on my right is a small single window by the garage. The garage window itself was not particularly in bad shape, except for the fact that over a period of time an unknown leak was occurring due to the gutter system, not necessarily the construction of the window. The seals had broken on the cap, and there was no visible sign that water was leaking out of the gutter system. But when the wall was taken apart, the entire area on the left side of this particular window, nearest the garage and the gutter, was in really bad shape. So that entire wall system around that window had to be remediated and restored. The window on the left, again, we were fortunate because of the soffit system and the cap across the top of the arch. We only had a small amount of remediation to do on the lower portion of that window. I had a very positive experience with McNamara Masonry and the crews. One of the most important things from my own personal business experience is that the crews that came out here were the same crew every day. They worked very well together. They knew each other's strengths, and they were able to complement each other in the execution of the work. The work site itself was kept immaculately clean. We had a dumpster in the driveway, and we had a work truck in the driveway as well. And all that material was taken out during the day and put back into its proper places in the evening. So when my neighbors came home, unfortunately they had to see the dumpster, but there was no way around that because of the nature of the work. But in general, the entire property was kept neat and free of any debris at the end of each workday. One of the real benefits of using McNamara Masonry was the fact that they were a single source of responsibility for the entire project, including a minor roofing repair, a gutter repair, as well as landscaping services at the conclusion of the work. The nice thing too about McNamara was the fact that every day the work area was cleaned up and all the materials were put away to reflect a property that had some equipment in the driveway, but the rest of the property looked untouched.